Okay. Hi, Janet. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Thank you for coming on the show. I
Well,
appreciate it.
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Was looking forward to it.
So, you're going to have to explain your bio a little bit because I see actually two bios on here. I see one for Janet Walmsley and I see one for Jenny Story. The book we're going to be talking about today is which book?
I might talk about all three of them if you have time, but the main reason why I wanted to give you Jenny's bio as well, because Jenny is my daughter. The bio for me and why I gave you her was because her and I are both authors, but there's a story behind us both being authors. Uh, Jenny is autistic, and I wanted to write a book about our autism journey for the autistic community to help them see a positive, that there's a light at the end of the dark tunnel, and to give them hope. I also wanted to reach out with my book, which is called The Autistic Author and Animator. It's right here. And I wanted to reach out to the general public because there's still a boxed stigma around autism. So I wanted to break this box and show the force that autistic individuals are igniting, not only in society, but in the workforce. And my daughter Jenny is living proof. She's a role model. She's an inspiration. I was told at 3 that she would never talk well, do well in school, be where her peers are. I was basically told she had a bleak future. I was given no even a smidgen of a positiveness. And I walked out of that specialist room, and my mom was with me for support. And I remember my poor mom breathing down her neck saying, "That's not going to happen." So that's what I was wanting to talk about today, was this journey, give a glimpse of this journey that we went through and how we took the positive of autism, even though we went through trials and tribulations, never looked back, learned from the negative, turned it into a positive, because I was going to make sure that Jenny was going to have a rich, fulfilled life, and her autism was going to be looked as a positive. And now she has 2 best-selling award-winning books. It's a trilogy called Dysnomia. They're getting quite a following. As a matter of fact, this weekend we have a book signing in Vancouver, the first one since COVID. So yes, that's why I'm here. That's why I wanted to come on your show, Douglas.
Well, I think that's fantastic, what you've told me about your daughter. You had mentioned that there is a boxed stigma around autism. Is that what you meant by when the medical community still thinks that people with autism are limited into what their abilities are and what they can do? Was that what you
That's
meant? Yeah,
Yeah, that's one.
that's one.
There's many avenues. I think it's in every avenue. I think it's in medical professions. I think it's in society itself. I think in the workforce. It's coming. It's slowly coming. But in the school systems, you talk to teachers. We're not given enough um, help to help children with autism, because autistics are put in with, per se, no, I would say autism people are normal with autism. They're still normal. I think all of us have a bit of a quirk or an autism in us, but there's so many different avenues, and even the general public itself. Here's an example. When my book first came out, there was a woman in Vancouver. We do a lot of book signings, and she had bought from this bookstore, and she got a hold of me. She read my book on her way back home to California, and I'd never met her before. And she said to me, "Oh my goodness." She says, "I have a whole new viewpoint, perspective of autism. It's opened up my eyes. It's enlightened me." And she says, "My goodness, your daughter," she says, "I want to do a Jenny. Because when I see what this girl's gone through in her book to where she is now," because not only is Jenny a best-selling author, she's also a professional 2D, 3D animator. So there's a lot of
Wow.
people who don't have one profession. She's got 2. So this woman said to me, "I want to do a Jenny because when I read everything she went through and where she is today, being an author and an animator," she says, "what's stopping me from pushing away my fears, pushing down my barriers and my obstacles, and going after my dreams and living them? Because this is something I always wanted for Jenny." I wasn't going to listen to that specialist because so many parents have over the years. Granted, this was 26 years ago when I was introduced to autism. I had never heard of the word. But I don't want any more parents and their children to go through the cracks. I don't want any adult autistics to go through the cracks. I want them to know that they can have a rich, fulfilled future. I always say it's not a death sentence, it's a life sentence, so to speak. So that is why I wrote my book. That is why Jenny and I share her story out to the public. And thank you to Jenny for allowing me to do that, because that's exposing her very naked out to the world.
Are there degrees of autism? I mean, can somebody be slightly autistic versus being severely autistic?
Yes, that's a very good question, Douglas. There's different levels. Okay. Some people are extremely low functioning, some are extremely high functioning. There's always different levels. Some autistics, one thing for an autistic, it's very hard for them to socialize. Some are very right in your space. They don't know the boundary of, the space issue. And then others are very quiet, very shy, and they find it hard to socialize, to converse. So there are different levels, but here's the thing. When I went to get Jenny tested, and as I just explained, what this specialist told me, Jenny was diagnosed as low functioning autistic. I was told she was going to be needing a lot of help, a lot of services, a lot of support. And we saw, with what I call in my book, the dream team, that was both medical professionals, the school system itself, the daycare, the respite care, the psychologist, psychiatrist. I hit gold. But I was assertive, never aggressive. I was kind of assertive, but I got myself a team that their unconditional love, they're going the extra mile for Jenny, but also being there for me and my son as a family. I was always included. So what happened with Jenny, and I've seen this happen with other autistic individuals, she went from low functioning autistic to extremely high functioning autistic, something I was told that was never going to happen.
Well, that's amazing. So it's as much environmental. If you had taken a passive approach, she could have remained at low function, perhaps?
You hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
That phrase, so to speak, exactly. If I had not have pushed, because when I first saw something was going on with Jenny, I'd never heard of the word autism. I didn't know what was happening, because that was 26 years ago. So there per se was no support, that nobody even heard of the word, but I knew something was wrong. Something wasn't right. And as a mother, you turn into that mama bear to be there for your child. I became her voice, her sounding board, her support system. I wanted to be there for her, no matter what level. I always say that each parent of an autistic child should let them reach to their peak, no matter what level they're at. They deserve that. They truly do deserve that. And that's what I did with Jenny. That's why when I first started out, I went to a general practitioner and I said, there's just something, she's showing me all these, unbeknownst to me, everything she was showing me is autism traits. But I remember him looking at me and he just lifted up his eyes like this, and he treated me as a very overbearing, overprotective, overneurotic mom. He says, oh, it's just the terrible twos. She's late and talking. And I have a son who's older than Jenny. And I said, I've seen the terrible twos. This is just more than a terrible twos. Took her for a hearing test because I thought maybe it was her hearing, but the fit was on. You just couldn't do it. And I tell you, my heart went out to her. I wanted to wave a magic wand and just make her be able to do everything like every other child did. But in time, and like I say, with this beautiful dream team I talk about in my book, we got her there. And number one, Jenny got herself there too, because she's the one, as I put it like this in a phrase, she trekked through the trenches of bullying. She climbed the slippery mountain slopes of academics, where she passed grade 12, she got scholarships. She went on top of the mountain peak, where she became and went through 2 years of school for 2D and 3D and animation. And then she flew up above the clouds and published, which is a trilogy. Dysnomia is a fantasy fiction trilogy. She's now got the first book out. The second book sequel just came out last May, and she's writing the third book and also writing a script for, she wants to make it into a TV series or movie trilogy series for her books. Boy, what a far cry, Douglas, from what I was told when she was 3.5.
Well, I think it's very commendable what she's done. And I think that you also deserve a bit of acknowledgement for that as well, because again, you could have taken a backseat approach to this and thrown up your hands and listened to the doctors. But instead,
yes,
you had the confidence in her that she was going to succeed and do something and strive beyond this.
And yeah. Douglas, yes, and there's the word that you just used, confidence. I can't say this enough to autistic parents. I know it's very hard when you first find out your child is autistic. It's really hard. And back then, even more so, because there was nothing there. Now there definitely is more, but there still could be a lot more, especially after they turn 18, 19. But this is one thing I do want parents to know, and they can always reach out to me, is that you are their sounding board, their voice. You have to show them and make them feel confident about themselves, to believe in themselves. And this is something I've always done with Jenny, without pushing her, never pushed her, but just let her feel confident and belief in herself. Like when she says, oh, I don't know if I'll ever pass grade 12. Oh, I know you're going to pass grade 12. And, I'd be right there for her. And she goes, oh, they'll never allow me to go to Vancouver Film School. And I says, oh, I know you will. I says, I know you can do it, Jenny. And so there was always that cheering her on. I was her number one cheerleader, but so was everybody in her dream team. The play therapist, the speech therapist, the psychiatrist, the daycare were just like our guardian angels, the respite care people, everyone, the people that, and Jenny's friends who took Jenny as she was and loved her for who she was. But yes, she went through a lot of bullying. When you surround yourself with all that positivity, it helps much. I have parents come up to me at our book signings, and they're coming up, they're bawling, they're hugging, saying, you don't know what your story's done for us. We thought we didn't have a future. We thought we didn't have any hope. And now we can go full speed ahead. And then it just breaks my heart when I see if some have gone through the cracks. And one thing I did want to say, Douglas, is it's not only the parents, it's not only the individual or child going through it. Always have to remember the siblings. When we have book signings or speaking engagements, I beeline it for siblings, because they're going through it as much as what the parents are and what the child is. And what happens is a lot of siblings feel left out. They feel like they're gypped in time from their parents because the parents have to spend so much extra time with the child. A lot get embarrassed by their siblings because of their behaviors that they can, do in front of public, and that's what's embarrassing for them. I got to say, I understand, and that's why I always want to go right beeline for them, ask how their day is, what they like to do, and how are they finding it, what's it like having an autistic brother and sister, so that they can reach out, so they can express themselves, because it's very important, because they're in the same household, they're in the same home. And that's why I always, I say it in my book, and when I have speaking engagements, that I talk about a time when my son and I were in a restaurant, and we had Jenny with us, and Jenny had to always have routine. Always routine. If we went out of routine, like say I was going to the park and I didn't go on the same rocks, the fit was on. This was hitting yourself, biting yourself, scratching yourself, screaming, yelling. And let me tell you, she's a strong little girl. And if you could see her now, you'd never know she was the same person, because she's very calm, easygoing, and it's me, the one that seems to be more the hyper one now. But she'd have these fits. We'd go down aisles not the same way in our grocery stores. The fit was on. I remember two women coming up to me and saying, you are a rotten mother and she's a terrible child. And that's really hard, because your child doesn't want to be like that. They can't help it. But I wanted to be always there for Chris too, because he was such a good brother, so protective, so loving, so caring to his sister. And he was also so much there for me. And at this point, I was a single parent. And it does happen, not all the time, but there are, instances where marriages do break up because of not being able to handle the autism factor that's come into a marriage or a family. So my son almost became the father and the brother. But I was always there for him, of course, as his mom. But I remember one time we'd gone to this restaurant. I wanted to treat him, and I thought, I can't enable Jenny. She's got to know she has to be able to go out in the public. But the fit was on, and she threw herself underneath the table, was having her fit. And all around us, people were staring at us, murmuring. You could just, you knew it wasn't good. And I remember my son, we were just waiting for the meal to come, and he said, Mom, I'll take care of her. So he went underneath the table, he took her blanket, he took her stuffy and the coloring books, and the food had come, and I said, are you sure? And he says, no, Mom, just you eat. And at one point, I remember his hand coming up above the table, grabbing a piece of chicken and taking it back down under for his sister. And then she started to calm, and he brought her back up. And this is what happened, Douglas. Everybody around us, and I don't like saying this word because I remember when I was younger, my sisters and I always had to put a quarter in the box if we said it. But there wasn't a sound. You couldn't hear a pin drop. Everyone shut up. And they were just all like, because of what my son was doing for his sister. And I remember this one lady looking at me. I try to do this without breaking down, but she went like this on her heart. She looked at me and she gave me this lovely, kind smile. And I went back like this and smiled back at her.
Oh, well, that's fantastic.
And I looked at my son and I just thought, you were such a good, he was just a young, like a young teen.
Janet, we do have to wind this down. We've gone over on time.
No problem.
Already. Your book is called?
Here it is. It's called The Autistic Author and Animator. And the subtitle is A Mother's View of a Daughter's Triumph.
Okay, so this is basically her story, right? It's
This is her journey from when she was born to, and it's a couple of years old, so it's not so now she's done even more, because now she's got her two books out. I'll just show them to you. One is Dysnomia, Outcasts on a Distant Moon, and the other is Dysnomia, Home Lies in Your Heart. Okay,
great. Do you have a website that you want to give out?
Yes, it's www.janetwall, so JANETWAL .wixsite, WIXSITE.com, and then / Autism Connects.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sorry we're out of time. We have to.
No, that's no problem.
I
thank you for having me. This has been an absolute pleasure and joy.